Welcome back. So we were at number 27. We finished number 27, principle number 27, and now we are on principle number 28. Miracles are a way of earning release from fear, which is really similar to the where it said that miracles represent freedom from fear. So miracles are a way of earning release from fear. So maybe we're all in a state of fear and we need to be released from that state of fear. So miracles are a way of earning that release from fear. So it's another way of saying the same thing. Miracles represent freedom from fear, and miracles are a way to earn release from fear. So kind of same thing, but a little different perspective to help us understand a little bit better. It says that revelation induces a state in which fear has already been abolished. Miracles are thus a means, and revelation is an end. Revelations are an end. So it's saying here that revelation induces a state in which fear has already been abolished. So as long as there's some level of fear within us, revelation is impossible. Revelation is a state of pure joy. I'm also just going to mention that because if there's other ideas of what revelation is, it's not that. It's really the revelation is a state of pure joy. That's the revealing of the love that, the blocks to the awareness of love. Those blocks, when they come down, that love coming in, which is joy, is revelation. So a state of pure joy is revelation. It's direct communication with our Creator. That's revelation. So that there's total lack of fear. The fear is abolished. Even though we use the word abolished, that's when revelation happens. But miracles represent earning release from fear. But once revelation happens, miracles are not necessary anymore, because revelation is a direct communion with God, and there's nothing more to be done after that. But as long as there's elements of fear within us, then miracles are still necessary. So right now, revelation isn't super important to understand. It's just important to know that there's a stage beyond miracles. So it says that miracles are thus a means. Miracles are the means to the end of revelation, the end, which is revelation. All right, number 29. Miracles praise God through you. They praise Him by honoring His creations, affirming their perfection. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm spirit identification. So again, we talk again about body versus spirit, moving from the bodily idea to affirming spirit identification. It denies body identification. So before it said there's two levels of thought. One level is the thoughts that make the physical, and the other level is the thoughts that create the spiritual. So thoughts that create the spiritual, those are real thoughts. Those are, miracles affirm spirit identification and deny body identification. So this other level of thought where it makes the physical, that level isn't actually real. Even though we believe in it, and that's okay. You don't have to feel weird about it, that, it's not real and this and that. No, it's not like it's going to disappear or something. The thing to understand is that our true nature, our true creator, everything that is true comes from spirit. And as long as we identify with the body, that's where suffering is. And that identification, when it shifts to spirit, that's where the healing happens. That's where the miracle happens, a shifting from bodily identification to spirit identification through denial of body identification. So before we just talked about two levels. Now it's saying we have to deny it. Not we have to. And I'm not asking anybody to try to do this, because we haven't really talked about how to do it. We're just learning what it is. We're learning what a miracle is, what body identification is, what spirit identification is. We're even learning that there are these levels. So it's not about trying to get from one level to another right now at all. It's just about learning about all of these levels. There's a physical body identification, spirit identification. We're just opening our mind to these ideas. We don't have to really do anything. Extending forgiveness means we have to learn even what forgiveness even means. And And so we're learning what miracles are here, because it's just a changing of our mind about things. We normally, day to day, who thinks about miracles? Really, let's be honest. Day to day, we're caught up in the world. At least, I mean, we have to do things. We have to be places. There's TV shows to watch, There's lots of things to do, to occupy our mind. But A Course in Miracles is saying each day should be devoted to miracles. So that's why we're learning about miracles now, because we are ready to experience the love that is our nature, and ready to express that love. And miracles are the way to do that. So let's learn more about it. So by recognizing spirit, miracles adjust the levels of perception and show them in proper alignment. This places spirit at the center where it could communicate directly. So there's a lot being said here. There's a lot being said. By recognizing spirit, miracles adjust levels of perception and show them in proper alignment. This places spirit at the center, and it can communicate where it can communicate directly. So spirit's in the center. Spirit's within us. Spirit's within everybody. And spirit, it's sort of like, again, like I said before, there was another, number 23, miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. This is saying really the same thing in number 30. By recognizing spirit, miracles adjust the levels of perception and show them in proper alignment. Adjust the levels and show them in proper alignment by recognizing spirit. So when we have bodily identification, then miracles are difficult. But what happens in a miracle is that miracles recognizes spirit as being the center. And therefore that shift to invisibility happens, a shift from bodily identification to spirit identification happens. And in that, the healing happens. And the healing happens really because our perceptions can get shifted, because we're allowing ourselves to understand that we're thinking according to spirit. Normally we think according to a separate little self. That separate little self is created or is made, or we make that separate little self, maybe unconsciously sometimes, because we believe that the world, our perceptions, we believe our perceptions were there before us. And these perceptions are influencing us and influencing who we are. And we've made up our idea of who we are based around the perceptions around us, based upon the things other people have said, and the things they've said has been based upon them believing that they are a product of their perceptions. So the realignment of the levels means that perception isn't the first level. Perception is part of our body. It's part of the eyes seeing things. That's perception. That's the bodily level. But spirit level is the thought level. That's before we even see anything, is the thought. The thoughts inspire the seeing. In fact, they make the seeing happen. So when the levels are realigned, when perceptions are realigned, it really, what they're trying to say here, a lot of times this course uses kind of strange wording. Because in the beginning of the book, it's like, well, what does that mean? It aligns perception. It realigns perception. What it's saying is that the levels have been confused. The levels are bodily level versus spiritual level. Another way of saying that is perception versus knowledge. So spirit is in the knowledge level. Perception is at the bodily level. Miracles shift our identification from the perception level to the knowledge level. They shift it briefly and allow us to see things differently with a different kind of perspective. So spirit becomes first. The primary thing is spirit. The secondary thing is the world, is our physical identity. Our true identity is a spirit identity. So because we believe that the primary level is this perception level, and our identity is based on the perception level, that's why the spirit level is taking a secondary role. But reversing that, where spiritual level is the primary level and the perceptual level is the secondary level, that's the rearrangement. That's what causes the healing. That's how the miracle works, because spirit becomes primary and perception is secondary. And so that's why it says that miracles adjust the levels of perception and show them in their proper alignment. So there's levels of perception. There's incorrect perception and correct perception. So as long as I see something and I judge it against it, then I'm really not seeing it truly, you know. Sometimes somebody will see a painting and they go, I don't like that painting, I don't really like it. And then years later they look at it from a different perspective and they go, oh yeah, that's a nice painting, I understand it now. There's foods that maybe we didn't like when we were kids, but when we grow up we learn that, oh, I like that food now. I didn't used to like it, but now I do, you know. How can that shift? How can that shift? That's because perception is changeable. There are true perceptions, and there are truer perceptions and more false perceptions. So as long as we keep judging against perceptions, we're thinking something that we're perceiving has a bad meaning, but it's really our interpretation of that perception that makes it bad. So that's the levels of perception. So the truer perception is not necessarily thinking something is good or thinking something is bad. The truer perception is just seeing things as they are without any particular interpretation. Now, if something comes up in our mind, whatever, that's fine. But that's the true perception means understanding, just being able to look at things without an opinion, a judgment, an interpretation. Just really, what is it that I'm seeing, and without coloring it with our mind. And that's a truer perception, being able to see things just more without the judgment. And so that's what a miracle does. It adjusts the levels of perception. That's what they're talking about there. And it says this places spirit at the center where it can communicate directly. So as long as we identify with perception and the bodily level, then our identification of who we are is led by an incorrect thought process. And that incorrect thought process makes every individual have a separate thought process. And therefore, everybody is sort of chaotic. This person has an idea in this way. I have an idea in this way. Somebody else has an idea in another way, because they're all believing in an idea of themselves that is based on their bodily identification, which is a different person for each body. Different ideas for different bodies, different identification for different bodies. Those different identifications are limiting, and they're ultimately not true, because spirit can directly within us, all of us, because we're all connected via spirit, which is why we're considered the sonship, which is why we have the same creator, because we are internally all connected via the same mind, which is the God mind. And that mind is a spirit, basically. Spirit is not the body, it's just spirit. And we don't have to try to picture it or envision it or anything, because it's beyond our ability of an image. It's not a part of perception, it's pre-perception. And that pre-perception is from spirit, and we're all connected to that same spirit. But we're just different. We're just expressing it differently because of this situation where we all have these different bodies. All right, so this places spirit at the... So by recognizing spirit, miracles adjust the levels of perception and align them correctly. And that places spirit at the center where it can communicate directly. So at the center means if there's these fragmented identities, there's no center, because each person is in a different place, mentally and physically. But when spirit is at the center, that means that everybody's center is spirit. So it's almost like when you think about the sun and all the planets around the sun, every planet is getting the light from the central sun. Every planet is getting the light from the central sun. Regardless of the location of those planets around the sun, we're all getting the same light from the same source. So just the same way, when a miracle happens, it adjusts the perception so that now because of the adjustment of perception, we're no longer paying attention to that separate ego self, the separate little I self that was made by the wrong levels, the level confusion. We thought that, perception or our bodily level was first, and spirit identification, we never even thought about that. But now it's saying, well, once those perceptions are corrected, once the levels are corrected, once we go from body to spirit, now spirit is able to communicate directly from the center, because the levels have been shifted and shown, and they haven't shifted. The levels have always been one way, primary versus secondary. Primary being spirit, secondary being bodily. They've always been that way. It's always been that way, but we have been confused. So the miracle takes our confusion out, aligns the perception correctly in our mind, and allows, therefore, the block to go away and allows the spirit to enter. Just because we have been thinking about things the wrong way, but it reverses the way we've been thinking, which allows spirit to directly communicate with all of us in that moment, because now we've taken off the block. That reversal, we've had a mirror, and finally we take the mirror down, we can see. It's like if you have a mirror in front of you and you're seeing yourself, and therefore you can't see what's behind the mirror, and you only think you see this yourself. So you take down the mirror and you see outside, and now all of a sudden you can see because you took down the mirror. So in a way, this mirror is our little self. When we take down the little self, then spirit can directly communicate with all of us, because it's rearranged our levels of perception. Number 31. Miracles should inspire gratitude and not awe. You should thank God for what you really are. The children of God are holy, and the miracle honors their holiness, which can be hidden, but can never be lost. Which can be hidden, but can never be lost. So let's just remember that we're holy. All of us are holy. And even though we may not feel holy a lot of times, or sometimes, that we still are. And the reason we don't feel holy sometimes, or we don't recognize our holiness, is because it can be hidden, but not lost. And one of the ways it's hidden, again, is through this misidentification with the bodily level. That's a way we hide our holiness. Because if we knew that spirit was at the center and we were following spirit, we would recognize our holiness. But because we've confused ourselves, we've made a false I, a false identity, a false ego. The ego is always false, by the way. The identity is not always false, but the ego is always false. The identity is a misidentification with the body. As soon as the identification is realigned with the spirit, then that's true identification. And that identification allows us to recognize our holiness and therefore recognize other people's holiness as well, because we all have the same source of spirit. So it says the children of God are holy, and the miracle honors their holiness. So it's not like you're giving a miracle to somebody who's less than you or anything. They're temporarily less loving, or temporarily not experiencing their own loving nature. So if a miracle happens, you may temporarily have more, and they may temporarily have less. However, the miracle honors their holiness. It's that recognition that we're both holy. Our worth. We realize our worth at the same time. It's a recognition of both of our worths at the same time, because we're both holy. We're both children of the same God. All right. So the next thing, before I move to the next one, it says that miracles should inspire gratitude and not awe. Why would it be gratitude and not awe? Awe means something happened that was like somebody was greater or better than I was, so I feel this awe. Oh my God, awe. It's like this awe about this thing. But it's saying, no, miracles should inspire gratitude. Why gratitude? Because you're holy. And it's gratitude for what you are. It's not gratitude for some outside God. Or not awe for some kind of spectacular God. No, that God, you're a part of that God. So there's no reason to feel awe for yourself. You're not like, you don't go, oh, I feel all this awe for myself. No, that's a separation idea. The truth is that you can feel gratitude towards who you are the greater God. You can feel gratitude because you're a part of it. That's the gratitude, you know. Wow, that's the gratitude. And so, so that's the gratitude part, gratitude versus awe. It says you should thank God for what you really are. So it's like, well, that's why I feel gratitude. You thank God for what you really are because you're really thanking yourself. You're a part of God. So you don't have to think of yourself as different, but thank God because that connects you to God. Gratitude connects you to your higher self. Gratitude connects you to the spirit level. Gratitude connects you. Awe separates you. It clearly says, well, that is a superior thing. I'm an inferior thing. That's where awe comes into place. So gratitude instead of awe, because you're a part of God. And then you're also holy. The children of God are holy, and the miracle honors their holiness, which can be hidden but never lost. That's really important to remember. It can be hidden but never lost. That's a message of hope, that our holiness can never be lost. No matter what we do here, whatever we've done in the past, our holiness can never be lost. No matter how sick you may be, you may think you are, your holiness can never be lost. It's an important thing to remember. This is a very hopeful statement. No matter how bad I feel, no matter how much fear I have, no matter how much illness I believe I'm suffering with, my holiness can never be lost. It's a beautiful thing. It can be hidden, but never be lost. So now we move on to number 32. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. So that's a self-explanatory statement. I inspire all miracles which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order, and in this order you are perfect. So, why would Jesus say that I inspire all miracles which are really intercessions? They intercede for your holiness. So, in the previous principle, it said that your holiness may be hidden, but it can never be lost. So let's say our holiness is hidden to us. What Jesus says here is that he intercedes for our holiness because it's hidden to us. So he comes in. He's actually a part of us. He's definitely accessible to all of us. And the source of him, his love, the God behind him, the God behind all of us, the Father behind all of us, within all of us. We're a part of the Father. We're a part of the Creator. That love can intercede. Jesus Christ can intercede for our holiness while we believe it's hidden. So, a lot of us don't believe we're holy, but that doesn't mean we can't have miracles happen, because that's what this is saying, basically, is that no matter how you feel, because a lot of times we start reading this book, we're not feeling holy. I wasn't feeling holy when I was reading this. I was struggling. And these kind of lines help me realize, well, I don't have to worry about that, because there's another figure here that's another being, maybe I could think of it that way, that I don't have to worry about this, because he can intercede for my holiness while it's hidden to me. So that's kind of one way to look at this principle. Number 33, miracles honor you because you are lovable. They dispel illusions about yourself and perceive the light in you. They thus atone for your errors by freeing you from your nightmares. By releasing your mind from the imprisonment of your illusions, they restore your sanity. Miracles honor you because you are lovable. They honor you because you are lovable. So it's just saying, look, regardless of how we feel about ourselves, we are lovable. We are always lovable. If you feel lovable, it's because you are lovable. If you don't feel lovable, it's because you don't recognize that in yourself right now. That's all it's saying. You are lovable, and that's why miracles are everyone's right. It doesn't matter how they're showing up in the world. It doesn't matter how you judge them or how you judge yourself. Miracles are everyone's right. Why? Because everyone's lovable. Why? Because everybody's a child of God. That's just it. That's just the way it is. And because that's the way it is, miracles are possible for everyone. So one of the big parts about miracles is just trying to learn and recognize or remind ourselves that everybody's holy. Everybody's holy, regardless of what we think about them. You know, we can think they're the worst person in the world. It doesn't make them not holy. They're still holy. How can we judge someone then? That's another question. How can we judge somebody when, if they're really holy, how can we be judging them? I mean, maybe they need our love, right? If they're showing up in a way that seems unloving to us, you know, and it could very well show that way. I mean, there's some very unloving occurrences that happen in the world. I'm not saying they don't. That would be incorrect for me to say that. But if we understand that everybody is truly holy, then maybe we can understand that everyone requires our love, because they're lovable. If they're lovable, we need love, and we need to give love, because we are loving as well, loving and lovable. So that's that on that. And it says, so you're lovable. That's why miracles honor you. So sometimes we might feel like, well, that person doesn't deserve honor, you know, or I don't deserve honor. But it says, yes, you do, because you're lovable. So you deserve honor, and miracles honor that. They honor the love, who you are. They honor that. And miracles dispel illusions about yourself and perceive the light in you. That's just the same way of saying they honor you because you're lovable. You're lovable, you're loving, you're full of love, because that's the light in you, is that love. The love and the light are different words for kind of the same thing. Love is a word is short-changing love itself. And light is another way to understand love. Light is understanding. Light is the opposite of darkness. Darkness can be considered ignorance. Light can be considered knowledge or wisdom, understanding. That's the light. And so love and understanding go hand in hand. And so miracles perceive the light in you, which is another way of saying they perceive the holiness in you, which is another way of saying that you are lovable because you're holy and you have light within you, regardless of what's showing up on the outside or what you feel on the inside. Even if you're feeling bad on the inside, that's something to do with darkness that isn't real. Darkness isn't real. Darkness can easily be eradicated when light is shined on it, because it wasn't real. I can try to shoot darkness into a light, but there's no such thing as shooting darkness into a light, because light is more real than darkness. I can try to cover it up with a cloth, but I don't think there's a cloth big enough to actually completely conceal light. Anyway, that's getting into a metaphor debate, or metaphor, getting wrapped up into metaphors. So let's get back to the light, of course. So because miracles perceive the light in you, and that's how they dispel illusions about yourself by recognizing the light in you, by perceiving the light in you, they thus atone for your errors. So they thus undo your errors by freeing you from your nightmares. So when your nightmares are freed, when we wake up from a nightmare and we realize that it was all untrue, we feel better. So that's the undoing of the error. But even in this world, when we're quote unquote awake and we're not sleeping, like I'm not in bed laying down and sleeping right now, but being truly awake would be to let go of the illusions that I hold even in this waking state. So if I'm thinking about, what I'm going to do tomorrow right now, and being afraid of, what's going to happen tomorrow, how much is it going to snow, is it going to get icy, and you should stay at home, and this and that. If I'm thinking all these thoughts, that's a dream. That's a nightmare. And that's just one example. There's legions of nightmares, legions of illusions. They just grow and grow and grow into more and more and more illusions, but they're all unreal. And a miracle dispels those illusions by perceiving the light in you. When the light is seen, that dissipates the darkness. So light is truth. Light is understanding, true understanding, wisdom, knowledge. When that understanding is there, then the illusions disappear, because illusions are only based on some kind of falsehood. So if I'm afraid of something occurring day after tomorrow or this weekend, if I'm afraid of that, that is an illusion, because that's in the future and it hasn't happened yet. So there's a fear about something that has not occurred. The light would be something that allows me to understand that I'm only here right now, and this right now moment is going to extend forever. That this right now is all that there really is. So therefore, I don't need to worry about the future. If that dawned upon my mind, that is the light within me that's dispelling the darkness of my ideas about the future, because the ideas about the future are all false. Really, these worries about the future are all false. They're just made up. And a miracle would recognize that. A miracle will allow me to recognize that. And thus, the fear, gone. Because the illusion's gone. Nightmare's gone. So, it's saying, by releasing your mind from the imprisonment of your illusions, they restore your sanity. So, while we're having these illusions, while we have fear, A Course in Miracles is kind of saying that we are insane. Yep, insane. But our sanity can be restored. And how? Through miracles, through perceiving the light in us. So, separating the true from the false. False is the darkness, truth is the light. And that happens through miracles. And so miracles are loving thoughts. Forgiveness is part of miracles. So we're learning all these things. Love, miracles, forgiveness, atonement. These are all similar things. Release from fear. Miraculous. That's the real miracle, is the release from fear is a miracle. Release from fear. So it's not really, so much about some kind of physical abnormality that occurs. If somebody's cancer goes into total remission, besides their cancer being gone, isn't their fear gone? If they're healed completely, their fear is gone. If they feel different about themselves, their fear is gone. In that releasing of fear, they're no longer under the hallucination that they're going to die. And they feel better because the fear has been undone. And that is the miracle, is the undoing of fear. Now, if somebody healed from an illness, but it was replaced with another fear, then they still have more healing to do. It's not, the miracle is released from the root of fear, or every level of fear, any level of fear, any perception of mind that's shifted in order to release fear. That is a miracle at any level. It could be a small thing, big thing. There's no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not bigger or harder than another. One is not easier or more difficult. They're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal.